Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Kat.
And today we're starting our story article, which is The Secret Garden.
I love this story.
It's been so long since I've read it. I had only looking at this article reminded me, oh yeah, that and that and that.
Yeah, but it's such a classic. I think that just about every child in like the UK or the US has probably read it.
Certainly of my age, it would have been one of those junior high school or elementary school, we call it primary school books that you would read at some point. And now, one of the things in the first day is about moving to a new place.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in the article, but did you ever do a big move when you were young?
Yeah, when I was 5 years old, my family moved from California to Idaho, and that was a big change. I remember, or I don't remember, my mom tells me that when I went to the grocery store with her for the first time, I was asking her, why are there no Mexican people? Why are there no black people? Why is everybody white? Because Idaho is 97% white people. And I noticed that even as a small child. So it was it's a very different environment, and it did result in some changes that I was like, whoa.
Different climate as well.
Yeah,
with the weather and the winters.
It's colder in the winter. Yeah, it snows. Yeah.
I didn't move much. We moved to a bigger house, but it was in the same town and it wasn't very far, and I hadn't started school. So for me, it was no big change. It was just, we have a different garden. There's a different park across the road. I'm in a different bedroom in the house. So for me, I was 4. It wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the old house at this point. So, I never had to do the kind of big move that our character is going to do at the start of this story.
And she's done an even bigger move than you or I ever did.
Indeed. Let's read through day 1 of our story and find out what is going on.
Reading The Secret Garden. Mary Lennox is a young English girl in India who is surrounded by servants. She's a weak, selfish, and spoiled child. When her parents and all their servants suddenly die from cholera, however, her life is changed forever. Mary is sent to Yorkshire, England to live with her uncle, Mr. Craven. Mr. Craven keeps his distance from Mary and soon leaves on business. She's left to entertain herself in his big house and its gardens. Mary learns of a part of the gardens that no one goes into, which immediately makes her curious. Also, she keeps hearing the mysterious sound of someone crying in the house. As the weeks pass, Mary becomes more independent, grows stronger, and gains more respect for others. One day, while exploring, she finds a way into the hidden part of the gardens. She starts taking care of its plants and makes it her own secret place. She also meets Dickon, a local boy. He is knowledgeable about plants and animals, so Mary shows him the hidden garden and they work together to care for it.
So the story begins by introducing our main character. It says, Mary Lennox is a young English girl in India who is surrounded by servants.
Okay? Oh, what a life.
Yeah, a lot of families, British families who lived in India were very wealthy. They did have a lot of servants. In fact, we say Mary was surrounded by servants. To surround something is you're all around that thing. So if there's a house and there are trees all around it, the trees are surrounding the house. Okay, we can use it in the passive form as well. Something is surrounded by another thing. Okay, now here we're not being literal. There are not servants standing in a circle around Mary at all times.
That'd be sort of weird.
It would be a bit odd, but we can use surround in this way to show she had many servants, they were there all the time, and to communicate the meaning, she never had to do anything for herself. She wants something, please get me some tea, please get me some juice, pick up my toys, bring me my book, clean my clothes. That's the kind of life she lived. Here's another example sentence with surround. The young deer found itself surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves.
Uh-oh. Hope that deer gets away all right. But she's surrounded by servants. So, right, you said she never has to do anything for herself. She can just be like, excuse me, come here, do this for me. And we see in the article that this has affected the way she is. She's a weak, selfish, and spoiled child.
Oh dear.
None of those things are good. Being weak means you're not strong enough to do anything much. Selfish means you only think about yourself. And then spoiled here is another vocab word we've got. To spoil somebody means to give them everything that they want, especially when you're talking about a child. And it usually has a bad effect on them. It makes them like, oh, well, I can just get anything I want at any time, and I don't have to be nice to anybody. I don't have to, try to share with anyone. I can just be, a terrible kid.
Yeah.
And I'll get what I want all the time. And so to be spoiled, it, as an adjective, means that this is the way you act as a child. Or, even growing up into adulthood. Some spoiled children remain spoiled adults. And it means their parents allowed too many things. They didn't correct any bad behavior. You could say of a kid, they are spoiled rotten. So that would be sort of referring to, meat that goes bad or food that goes bad. You could say that this kid has gone so bad, it would take a lot of work to make them into a nice person. So for an example, Alan was so spoiled as a kid that he grew up and didn't know how to do anything on his own.
Oh dear. Yeah, the spoiled kids are not used to being told no. You can't have that.
Yeah,
no.
They don't know what no means.
Exactly. But this kind of life does not last forever for Mary. The article says, when her parents and all their servants suddenly die from cholera, however, her life is changed forever. We'll explain what this problem is, this cholera is, in just a moment. Right now, we're going to look at today's language in focus. So here we're looking at the use of the word when. And we can use when to connect two clauses to show that two things are happening at the same time or at very close times, and also show a little bit of a cause and effect relationship. For example, we could say, when my alarm clock went off, I woke up at once. These two things are happening just one after the other very quickly. So we can start the sentence with when, or we can put it in the middle of these two clauses. I woke up when my alarm clock went off. Now we can use as and while in the same way. They both show this situation. While is particularly used for two things going on at the same time. So here's a use of as. As I opened my door, I saw that snow was falling on the ground. And here's a use of while. While Tony was waiting in line for the restaurant, he killed time by playing a game on his phone.
Okay, so we hear that her life changes in a big way, and it's because of this disease called cholera that kills her parents and all their servants. So it kills just about everyone in the house except Mary. So cholera, as you can guess, is a serious disease. It causes severe vomiting, diarrhea, and often results in death. Especially it can kill people in just a few days, right? Yeah. It was a big, big problem, especially in the 19th century. I believe London had a cholera epidemic.
Probably several.
And it was the result of the water supply being dirty. And especially if a community gets water from the same place and somebody's sick with cholera, it's very easy for everybody else to get it too. It's very easy to spread. So that's why cholera can affect and kill so many people in such a short time.
So obviously when something like this happens, it's going to change a person's life if they're the only survivor. And we see in the article it changes Mary's life forever. We use the adverb forever to mean all future time. And when we use it, we show there's no hope or no chance that something can go back to the way it was before, okay? It's like, that's done. This situation is ended and this one begins and we can never go back. For example, the two people promised to love each other forever at their wedding. They will love each other for all their futures and all their future time together.
That's right. So the article goes on to say how Mary's life is going to change. Mary is sent to Yorkshire, England to live with her uncle, Mr. Craven.
Okay.
So Yorkshire's close to where you're from, right?
Yeah, it's just north of where I'm from. It's the north of England. I'm from the middle part, but yeah, it's up in the northern part. So what goes on in Yorkshire with Mary and her uncle? We see that Mr. Craven isn't really the best uncle in this situation.
Nah, he's not a loving person.
No, the article says Mr. Craven keeps his distance from Mary and soon leaves on business. So,
peace out.
Yeah, he's not exactly like, oh, welcome, I'll take care of you now you've lost your family kind of thing. He keeps his distance. So what does it mean to keep one's distance from someone? Well, it's got two meanings. It can be physical or it can be more emotional. As a physical meaning, it just means to stay away from them. You don't see them. You create some kind of distance. Oh, stay away from that kid. He causes trouble. You know, don't hang out with him. Don't play with him. But it can also be an emotional distance. If you keep your distance from someone emotionally, you may talk to them, but you don't let them become friendly with you. So this uncle, he's kind of keeping Mary away. He's not being kind and close with her. He's just kind of saying, hello, Mary, good morning, politely, but they're not really becoming friends or close. And one way he gets to keep his distance is by leaving on business.
Right, so in modern days we would say he pieces out. It means he leaves. But if you're going away on business, it's an idiom that means you leave to go away and travel because of your job. Like, for example, flying to another country to work in its office or to attend meetings with people overseas. In this day and age, it would have been for a much longer time. Because if you leave on business today, you can fly. But back in those days, they had no planes, so he would have had to sail on a ship or something like that, and he probably was gone for months.
Yeah. Go down maybe even to London was a big long train journey, and you'd stay there for a long time.
Yeah.
So Mary has no uncle to take care of her. She's got no other people in the house to talk to or anything. And as the article says, she's left to entertain herself in his big house and its gardens. So seems her uncle is quite wealthy. He has a big house. We use gardens here as a plural to mean it's kind of a really big space with lots of different areas. You know, here's the pond area, here's some trees area, here's an open field. It's not just one small garden, it's a whole big area of land. And she's entertaining herself. If you entertain a person, you're kind of giving them something to think about, something to do. You're interesting them, you're making them laugh, you're trying to please them, making them feel happy and at home and amused and all of that kind of stuff. You might do it if someone visits you. I'm going to entertain these people. I'll give them some drinks, I'll chat to them, we'll share some stories, that kind of thing. Of course, Mary is entertaining herself, which means she has to find her own things to do to interest her, to make her feel happy and not bored. Here's an example sentence. David went to make tea and coffee in the kitchen while his wife entertained their guests.
Okay, so she's basically left to herself. There's probably servants around to take care of her needs, but she doesn't have anyone to talk to or play with, so she just has to spend her days going around doing whatever she likes. So Mary learns of a part of the gardens that no one goes into, which immediately makes her curious. Of course, you think about the gardens would be places that people want to go. But if there's a part that no one goes to, why? And what's there that's making it so secret? A secret garden, if you will. Title.
That's the title of the book.
It is! So it immediately makes her curious. Let's find out what it means by immediately. This adverb immediately with the ly at the end means right away, without any delay, and right after this. So if something happens immediately, perhaps Mary went into the garden and she felt, this is interesting. I'm curious about this. There wasn't any delay, any time between when she found the garden and when she became curious about it. It happened right away. So for an example sentence for immediately, you could say, Marzia left the party immediately after dinner, as she had to go home and watch her brother. So that means she finished eating, she pushed her chair away from the table, and she said, I have to leave and go home. And that means she immediately left.
So there's a bit of the gardens where nobody goes to.
That's right, and I would be curious too if I found a place like that.
Right, and that's not the only kind of unusual thing about this new house she finds herself in. The article says, also, she keeps hearing the mysterious sound of someone crying in the house. Okay.
A ghost?
Maybe a very sad ghost. Well, whatever it is, it's mysterious. Something that is mysterious is strange. It's unexplained. It is, to use the noun form, a mystery. So she hears crying. Well, who's making that crying sound? Is it a servant? I don't see anybody else at breakfast time. My uncle's away. Who can be making this crying noise? Why isn't anybody dealing with it? Yeah. What a mystery.
That is a mystery. And, wouldn't she want to find out? But apparently, she keeps getting to entertain herself. She doesn't find out what's making or who is making that crying sound just yet, because we see that a long time passes. As the weeks pass, Mary becomes more independent, grows stronger, and gains more respect for others. Well, that's a good thing. So she's becoming less spoiled.
Yeah, so that's great for her. We now see one day, while exploring, she finds a way into the hidden part of the gardens. So there she goes. It wasn't that they were trying to keep people away. It's just maybe this area with big trees or maybe hedges all around it. It's just difficult to get into. It's hidden.
So then she finds the way in. She starts taking care of its plants and makes it her own secret place. That must feel pretty special. And so we've heard already the title is called The Secret Garden. Secret is an adjective that means something you keep hidden from others. So maybe only a few people know about it. In this case, only Mary knows about it. It's kind of her little secret, something that she can have for herself and something that she doesn't have to share with other people. And if she wants to tell it, she can, but nobody else knows about it right now. So here's another example. The house was built with secret rooms hidden behind fake bookshelves.
So cool.
Yeah, I love when that happens.
Okay, now when she's walking around in this garden, or maybe in the other parts of the gardens, she also meets Dickon, a local boy. So maybe he's working as a servant or a gardener in for her uncle's house. Maybe he's just a local lad who kind of comes over sometimes and, hey, there's this big area, no one's around. I'll play in there myself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you had a big garden and nobody was in it, wouldn't it be good for somebody to come and, use it? So the article says he is knowledgeable about plants and animals. So Mary shows him the hidden garden, and they work together to care for it. So now it's not quite so secret anymore. It's a secret between these two people, these two children. But she also says that Dickon is knowledgeable about plants and animals, which is a good thing for the garden. If you are knowledgeable about something, that means you have knowledge. Knowledge being the noun form of knowledgeable. And that comes from the verb to know, which is why there's a K at the beginning of the word. So knowledgeable means you have a good understanding or skills that come from your experience or from being taught about something. That means you have knowledge, you are knowledgeable.
Right, and with this knowledge of plants and things that Dickon has and shares, they care for the garden. That means they look after it. They make some things grow well and put some things here and some things there, stop any weeds from coming through, make it all look very nice, very pretty, and very healthy. So that's what the two of them are doing. They're building up this little secret garden of their own. We've seen how Mary is starting to change what kind of person she is because of this garden and because of her experiences. There is still the mystery of the crying, But we're going to have to wait till tomorrow to solve that because it's now time for our For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So our question today is one that we've kind of, touched on a bit today. Why do you think that part of the gardens, so this secret garden part, why is it kept hidden and secret?
That's a good question. We don't really get any hints about that, do we?
Not in day one, no.
So, I think it could be kept secret because maybe there are some rare plants in there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Now, okay, well, this is a big house, and in the UK we have a lot of these big fancy houses with big gardens, and often they are open to the public. People can go, they can walk around them, maybe even see over the house.
I didn't know that.
Maybe this is an old story, so at the time people lived there, but these days a lot of these old houses and gardens are turned into tourist spots.
Okay.
People want to see what life was like, what these old houses were like. But if you were doing that, you might keep a bit of the garden away as private. This is the owner's. The owner doesn't want strangers coming in here. This is just his or her little part of it. Just like inside the house, there might be, you can go into these parts, but there's a few rooms over here. That's the owner's. We don't go in there.
Okay.
It's the same with like Buckingham Palace. People can tour it, but they can't tour all of it.
Right.
So maybe it's something like that.
Okay, so it could be that this is a public garden. Maybe that's why Dickon is, coming in and out. But that part of the garden is the only part for just the owners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like
it's a working hypothesis that we'll stick to until we learn more.
Okay.
We'll see if we find out in day 2. Join us again tomorrow for that. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Surround. Nobody could see the house because it was surrounded by tall trees. Spoiled. The spoiled teenager became angry because his parents wouldn't buy him the expensive shoes he wanted. Forever. Kevin promised Danielle that he would love her forever. Entertain. The kindergarten teacher does a lot of dances and other funny things in class to entertain her students. Immediately. We need to go to the gate immediately after we check in, or we'll miss our flight. Secret. There is a small door behind this bookshelf that leads to a secret room.
智慧小补帖
Cholera. Knowledgeable.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000。02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net